Research lined up, and we're going to break this down for everyone listening.
Absolutely. And this one's a doozy, impacting 9.7 million people.
Wow.
Names, birth dates, addresses, even sensitive health claims.
That's huge. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So starting with kind of the beginning of this whole story, right? It seems like everything begins with a third-party IT provider that was working with Medibank.
Yeah, and one of their employees, it looks like, kind of set this whole thing in motion by saving their Medibank login credentials in their personal internet browser.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like on their work computer.
Okay, so you're thinking, all right, that's not too bad. We've all been there, done that.
All right.
But here's where things start to take a turn.
Uh,
Those credentials were synced to the employee's personal device.
okay.
And unfortunately for them, that device was infected with malware.
Oof. Yeah, that's like leaving the key under the doormat and then someone comes and installs a secret camera in your house.
Right, yeah, guys.
That malware just snatched those Medibank credentials, including access to an admin account.
So that's full access.
That's like a VIP pass to the whole system.
Yeah, not good. So it seems like around August 23rd, 2022, the threat actor, armed with these stolen credentials, got access to Medibank's VPN.
Yeah, their virtual private network.
And one detail here that kind of is important is that Medibank's VPN didn't have multi-factor authentication.
It's like having that high security vault with just a simple padlock on it.
So it makes you wonder, what kind of security are we really talking about here?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And this seemingly small oversight, had massive implications.
Yeah.
With those credentials and no multi-factor authentication in place, the threat actor was basically free to roam around as they pleased within Medibank's network.
So once inside, they planted a malicious script. So this is like the digital time bomb, right?
Right.
So to detonate and get all this data.
Yeah. Now, Medibank wasn't totally defenseless, right? They had this endpoint detection and response software.
EDR.
Yeah, you can think of it as like a security guard patrolling the premises.
Okay.
But even with the guard on duty, things went south. So that EDR software actually did its job.
It did.
Yeah, it sent out alerts around August 24th and 25th, signaling that, hey, there's some suspicious activity going on here.
But nothing happened.
But Medibank's security team didn't prioritize those alerts.
So it's like the security guard is calling in, there's a potential break-in, but no one's picking up the phone.
Exactly. So critical lapse in judgment, right? Weeks went by, and the threat actor, undetected, was siphoning off a colossal 520 gigabytes of data.
So while the guard's napping, the data vault is being emptied.
Precisely. And it wasn't until October 11th that Medibank's IT security operations team actually noticed a high-severity incident.
Finally.
Yeah, flagged by an alert. And so they called in a third-party investigator, like a digital detective, to assess the scene of the crime.
But at that point, the damage was done.
Yeah, way too late.
And it gets worse. So the threat actor then contacts Medibank directly on October 19th and 22nd.
Bold move.
Yeah, basically offering up a glimpse of the data that they stole as proof.
Yeah, it's like if a thief breaks into your house and they send you a postcard with like a photo of your prized possession just to taunt you.
That's scary. And then between November 9th and December 1st, the data started appearing on the dark web.
Yeah, you know where all that stolen information is traded.
So a series of missteps, oversights, and delayed responses.
Just culminating in this data breach of massive proportions.
Yeah, and it's just a stark reminder that even with all of these security measures in place, human error, systemic failures can pave the way for disaster.
Absolutely.
And it's something we should all think about.
Yeah, for sure.
So we just kind of walked through that whole timeline of the Medibank breach. And, it's clear that a lot went wrong, but it's not just about, what happened. It's about understanding why it happened.
Right.
And what it could mean moving forward.
Exactly. And to do that, we need to kind of look beyond the hackers and the technical details and examine, the role of regulatory bodies.
Okay.
And in Australia, that means we need to focus on the Australian Information Commissioner.
The OAIC.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the data police, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure everyone's playing by the rules.
Exactly. They're responsible for upholding privacy and freedom of information laws in Australia.
Okay.
They investigate data breaches, ensure organizations comply with regulations, and they can impose some pretty hefty penalties on those who, fall short.
So they're not just there to wag their finger.
No, they absolutely have teeth.
Cool.
And in Medibank's case, they actually launched a full investigation and initiated civil penalty action, alleging that Medibank seriously interfered with the privacy of 9.7 million Australians.
Wow, that sounds serious. So what are they arguing? What's their argument?
Well, the OAIC is contending that Medibank failed to take reasonable steps to protect personal information, violating the Privacy Act of 1988.
So going back to those unheeded security alerts, the OAIC is saying those were a problem.
Major red flag.
Okay, so those missed alerts, that wasn't just a technical oversight.
Right.
It could actually have legal ramifications.
Precisely. And the potential penalties are significant. Medibank is facing a maximum penalty of $2.22 million for each contravention of the Privacy Act.
For each one.
Yeah, and with 9.7 million individuals affected, the fines could be astronomical.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. But I guess it sends a pretty powerful message then.
Absolutely. It's not just about protecting data, it's about accountability and consequences.
So the OAIC is saying you need to take data security seriously.
100% their actions send a very clear message to businesses.
Which is,
Protecting personal data is non-negotiable.
it's not just good practice.
It's a legal obligation.
I see. So it seems like this whole case could set a precedent, really raising the stakes for data security across every industry.
Yeah, I think it's a watershed moment.
Yeah.
The OAIC is drawing a line in the sand, and they're making it very clear that organizations have to prioritize data security and privacy or face the consequences.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to get caught up in the big picture stuff, right? Like with this Medibank breach and forget about our own data.
Yeah.
So let's bring it back to our listeners. What can we all learn from this, even if we're not, running some big corporation?
That's the crucial question, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all responsible for protecting our own digital footprint.
Okay.
And there are practical steps that everyone can take to improve their online security.
So let's get into those steps and help our listeners really take control of their data. What can we all start doing right now to safeguard our information? All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been taking apart this Medibank data breach, uncovering kind of a trail of missteps and really looking into the OAIC and what they do.
Yeah.
But now I think it's time to get practical.
Right.
What can you, the listener, do to protect your own data?
Yeah. It's easy to feel overwhelmed with these stories and think, what can I do? But, there really are some simple steps that you can take to make a big difference.
Okay.
First up, strong, unique passwords.
Yeah. Strong passwords, we hear it all the time, but how many of us actually use different passwords for every single account?
Yeah. I mean, it's tempting to reuse passwords. I get it.
Yeah.
But imagine, a hacker gets their hands on just one of your passwords. And if it's the same one you use for, your bank, your email, your social media,
Right.
they have the keys to the kingdom.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So strong, unique passwords for each account.
Exactly.
What else? How else can we protect ourselves?
Multi-factor authentication.
MFA.
Yeah, think of it as an extra layer of security, like adding a deadbolt to your door.
Okay.
So even if someone gets your password, they still need that second factor, like a code sent to your phone to get in.
Okay, so even if they pick the lock,
Yeah.
they're still stuck.
They're not getting in.
Okay, what about those phishing emails? How can we make sure we don't fall for those?
Yeah, those are tricky. They're designed to look like legitimate messages from, banks, social media platforms, even government agencies.
Right, yeah, they look so real.
They can be very convincing, but the key is vigilance.
Okay.
Remember, reputable organizations are never going to ask for your personal information via email or text message.
So if you get an email asking for your password,
Delete it.
bank details,
Red flags should be waving.
just delete.
Yeah, delete it immediately. And if you're unsure, contact the organization directly using, a known phone number or website, not the details in that suspicious email.
That's great advice. So
Yeah.
strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, and just a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
These are all things that we could do today
Absolutely.
to really improve our own cybersecurity.
And remember, it's an ongoing process. Stay informed about the latest threats, keep your software updated, and be proactive about protecting your data.
Yeah, the Medibank breach, it showed us these data breaches can happen anywhere. But it also really highlights the importance of, these regulatory bodies like the OAIC
Absolutely.
and holding organizations accountable.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. The OAIC's actions send a very clear message.
And what's that?
Data security is not just an IT issue. It's a business imperative, a legal obligation, and a societal responsibility.
Yeah, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with a final thought.
Yeah.
How secure is your data?
Take a moment to reflect on your own security practices.
Are you doing everything you can?
How are you using strong passwords? Have you enabled multi-factor authentication? Are you vigilant against those phishing attempts?
It might seem like small steps,
Yeah.
but they can make a world of difference.
They can.
At the end of the day, protecting your data is about protecting yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Appreciate it.
Stay curious, stay informed,
Yeah.
and most importantly, stay safe online.